This story takes place in a time when a deadly fungus had spread across Earth. Nearly 90% of humanity was infected and turned into monsters. Yet, a few brave people were still fighting to save what remained of mankind. This is an incredible series. Once you start watching it, you won't be able to stop until you finish it. The outbreak began just 20 years ago. This fungus would enter a person's body and eventually reach their brain, taking complete control over them. No scientist in the world could find a cure for this devastating infection. The news of this pandemic was everywhere. Joel and his daughter Sarah were living peacefully at that time since their city was in a safe zone. But overnight, everything changed. Late at night, Sarah heard gunshots from the neighbor's house. When she went to check, she was shocked to see that their neighbor had turned into a zombie and attacked her. Just in time, Joel and his brother Tommy arrived and saved her. Now they had to escape the city before the military began bombing infected areas. They rushed through the streets trying to reach the main highway, but it was already jammed with traffic. Seeing no way out, they turned toward a nearby river, but every road seemed blocked. Suddenly, a plane crashed dangerously close to them, flipping their car over. They managed to crawl out, but Sarah was injured. Tommy told Joel to head toward the river and promised to meet them there. Joel followed his advice, carrying Sarah with him. But just then, a zombie spotted them and came charging. It was about to attack when a soldier shot it down. Joel pleaded with the soldier, saying they weren't infected and begged for mercy, but instead, the soldier aimed his gun at them and fired. Joel was about to be killed too, but Tommy returned in time and shot the soldier. Sadly, it was already too late. Sarah had been shot in the stomach. No matter how hard Joel tried, he couldn't save her. He held her in his arms and cried for hours. 20 years later, all world governments had collapsed, and now a harsh authority called FEDRA ruled over the people. Their laws were cruel. Anyone breaking them was immediately sentenced to death. To fight their brutality, a resistance group called Fireflies had formed. For the past 20 years, they had been fighting for freedom against Fedra's military dictatorship. In Boston, there was a small Firefly unit led by a woman named Marlene. They were keeping a 14-year-old girl named Ellie under strict watch. She had been taken from the FEDRA military school. What no one knew yet was that Ellie was destined to change the world. Joel was also living in Boston and trying to find a working truck. He wanted it so he could go rescue his brother Tommy. Joel had been in contact with Tommy through radio messages, but he hadn't heard from him for over 3 weeks. So Joel tracked down the doctor who had helped him stay in touch with Tommy and decided to set off and find him. Over the past few years, Joel had met a woman named Tess, who had become an important part of his life. One day, Tess had gone to make a deal with some people for a truck battery, but things didn't go as planned. The men took her money and didn't give her the battery. The man behind this scam, Robert, was terrified because the battery he was supposed to sell to Joel had already been sold to someone else by his men. And if Joel found out what happened to Tess, he'd hunt them down without mercy. Robert feared Joel more than anyone else, but the damage had been done, and there was no way to undo it. Tess realized they wouldn't let her leave alive. Just then, a sudden explosion injured everyone, giving Tess a chance to escape. It was a miracle she made it out alive. The next morning, she told Joel everything, including that Robert's gang had sold the battery to someone else. Joel was furious. Without a battery, the truck was useless. And without the truck, he couldn't go find his brother Tommy. They had to figure out who the battery was sold to and where the deal was supposed to happen. After bribing a few informants, they got the information they needed. Meanwhile, that night in Boston, all the Fireflies were gathering in a building. The time had come to transport the girl they had been guarding. A few hours later, Joel and Tess reached the location and found Robert dead with the battery beside him, but it was completely broken. It seemed Robert had tried to sell a faulty battery and paid the price for it. The hallway was filled with dead bodies. Joel spotted a woman trying to help her injured comrade. Just as Joel aimed his gun at them, a girl suddenly attacked him with a knife. It was Ellie, but Joel was alert and blocked her easily. Joel recognized the woman. It was Marlene. They knew each other well because Tommy used to work with the Boston Fireflies. Joel explained that Tommy was in danger and he needed the truck to save him, but now the battery was useless. Marlene, already injured, couldn't escort Ellie to her destination, and with Fedra troops just 5 minutes away, she asked Joel to take Ellie instead. If he succeeded, she promised Joel could ask for anything from the Firefly organization in return. Joel and Tess discussed it and agreed. They got the location and prepared to leave. But escaping Boston during lockdown was no easy task. Anyone seen outside after curfew was either shot on sight by Fedra soldiers or publicly hanged. Fortunately, Tess knew a secret way out. Just as they were about to leave, a soldier spotted them and pointed his gun. He started scanning them one by one. When it was Ellie's turn, she suddenly attacked him. The soldier got furious and aimed his weapon at her. Joel begged him to stop, just like he had done 20 years ago when trying to save his daughter Sarah. The memory triggered something in him. Rage took over, and without thinking, Joel beat the soldier to death. Ellie was left stunned. Tess quickly scanned Ellie and discovered she was infected. But Ellie showed them her wound. It was 3 weeks old. No infected person survives more than a day. This meant her blood had something that made her immune. That's why she was so valuable. After she was bitten, Marlene had kept Ellie locked up for 3 weeks, but she never turned. Joel, Tess, and Ellie managed to escape the city, but soon they would begin to regret their decision. After walking peacefully for miles, they found themselves blocked by a horde of infected people on the main road. When they tried to take another route, zombies attacked them. One of them even bit Ellie. They somehow managed to fight them off and finally reached their destination, but it was completely destroyed. Fedra had already wiped out all the fireflies here and looted everything. There were no working radios, so they couldn't contact anyone to ask where to take Ellie now. Some of them had been bitten by zombies too. Ellie had heard there was another firefly base somewhere in the west where doctors were working. They were hoping Ellie's blood sample might help scientists develop a vaccine. However, Joel refused to go any further. He wanted to return home, but Tess stopped him. She said, "This is my home now." That's when it became clear. Tess was infected. The virus had already started spreading through her body, while Ellie remained completely normal. Tess could see the answer to everything lay in Ellie's blood. That's why she made one last request to Joel, to take Ellie to safety, no matter what it cost. Her final words were, "Keep her alive, and you'll fix everything else." Suddenly, the bodies lying around them began to transform into zombies. The fungus, it turned out, was spread underground for miles, connecting the infected like a hive mind. The moment one zombie was disturbed, it alerted the others nearby. Joel took Tess's words to heart and began his dangerous journey with Ellie. Meanwhile, Tess sacrificed herself, drawing the zombies toward her and setting off an explosion to destroy them all. Her screams haunted Joel's mind. He wanted to look back, but he had made a promise. Ellie's safety was now his only mission. After hours of walking, they found a working truck and headed toward Wyoming, where Joel's brother Tommy lived. The last time they spoke, Tommy had used a radio tower in Cody to contact him. Ellie asked, "Why aren't you two together anymore?" Joel explained the long story. Tommy had always wanted to make a name for himself, so after high school he joined the army. But after years of serving in deserts, his dreams remained unfulfilled. He left the army and, after the outbreak, began helping Joel guide people to safety in Boston. Around that time, Joel met Tess. Later, Tommy met Marlene and joined the Fireflies, believing he could make a real difference. But Joel had heard Tommy had quit the group and was now living freely. After a long journey, Joel and Ellie reached Kansas City. But the main highway was blocked, which meant they had to pass through the city itself. Ellie couldn't understand the map very well. Suddenly, they saw a man in the road, appearing injured and asking for help. But Joel sensed the trap and drove straight past him. A little farther, their truck hit a spike trap, bursting the tires. Gunfire erupted from nearby buildings. They were caught in a deadly ambush. Joel shot one attacker and tricked another into walking into his trap. But he couldn't fight off the third man, who started choking Joel and was moments away from killing him. That's when Ellie shot the man, saving Joel's life. The attacker begged for mercy, saying his mother was the head of this area and they could negotiate with her. But Joel showed no mercy and killed him on the spot. They quickly escaped through a back route. Meanwhile, patrols found the man's body. His mother, Kathleen, was interrogating a captured Fedra spy at that time. Kansas City residents were against Fedra and had formed their own militia. As soon as Kathleen learned of her son's death, she killed the spy without hesitation, convinced that Fedra was behind it. Her men launched an immediate assault on the nearby building. But by then, Joel and Ellie had already escaped. The place they found next wasn't safe either. A few blocks away stood a tall 100-floor building. When things calmed down, Joel and Ellie headed there. Meanwhile, Kathleen's soldiers found a clue, an old hideout. They guessed it might belong to Henry and his younger brother Sam, the two most wanted people in Kansas City. The same building had once been used by Fedra to bury infected people. Many such underground bunkers existed all across Kansas City, but this one was falling apart. Still, Kathleen ignored all risks, focusing only on avenging her son's death. Back with Joel and Ellie, they had climbed to the 33rd floor, exhausted. So they decided to spend the night in one of the rooms. Late that night, Henry and Sam entered the same floor and realized they weren't alone. Quietly, they made a plan and snuck in, holding Joel and Ellie at gunpoint. But after talking for a while, they discovered they were all in the same situation, just trying to escape the city. Henry had a plan. To earn their trust, Henry introduced himself as a local from Kansas City, but now, he was one of the most wanted men in the city. A month ago, his younger brother Sam was diagnosed with leukemia. Without medicine, Sam would have died. Desperate, Henry made a deal with Fedra and betrayed Kathleen's brother by giving up his location. That betrayal got her brother killed. Since then, Kathleen had been hunting Henry for revenge. Henry knew a secret route out of the city, but there was a problem. It was likely crawling with infected, and he had no weapons to protect himself. That's why he had threatened Joel and Ellie earlier with an unloaded gun. In the end, Joel chose to trust him. As the evening set in, they began their escape through an old tunnel. After an exhausting night, they made it to the other side of the city by the next evening. They reached a river. Crossing it would take them out of Kansas City, but suddenly someone shot at them. They ducked behind a car for cover. A sniper was firing from a house across the street. Joel told the others to stay down and made his way around to sneak into the sniper's house. After dodging bullets, Joel reached the house and killed the shooter. But just then, Kathleen's convoy arrived. Henry, Sam, and Ellie ran for their lives while Joel provided cover fire. Joel managed to shoot the truck's driver, causing it to crash into a house. The crash broke open a sealed underground area. Swarms of infected began pouring out, turning the whole place into chaos. Kathleen's army tried firing at them, but the infected were too many. One zombie brutally tore the head off Kathleen's right-hand man. Ellie jumped into an old car to hide. Henry and Sam crawled under a nearby vehicle. Their survival seemed impossible. Joel kept providing cover from above, but then a child-sized infected girl climbed into Ellie's car, flipping and tumbling like a monster. Ellie escaped in terror and ran to save Henry and Sam, stabbing the infected in her way. Just as Kathleen cornered Henry and aimed her gun, a zombie grabbed her from behind and tore her apart. The rest of the group managed to escape and found shelter in a nearby house. But things took a dark turn. Sam had been bitten. Ellie noticed it, but didn't tell anyone. Instead, she cut her hand and rubbed her blood on Sam's wound, hoping it might cure him. Sadly, that night, Sam turned. He attacked Ellie, forcing Henry to do the unthinkable. He shot his own little brother. Unable to bear the grief, Henry took his own life right after. The next morning, Joel and Ellie quietly buried the brothers. Without saying much, they resumed their journey toward Wyoming. 3 months later, they entered Wyoming, but a group of riders captured them. These riders had a dog that could sniff out infection. Joel panicked, afraid that if Ellie was caught, they might kill her. But to his surprise, the dog sniffed her and moved on. Ellie was safe. One rider asked why they were there. Joel replied humbly, "I'm just looking for my brother, Tommy." The leader of the group then asked Joel's name. The moment he said it, they welcomed him and took him to their town. There, Joel was finally reunited with Tommy. It was a deeply emotional moment. After all, the brothers had been apart for a long time. Tommy's wife Maria ran the place. Their town had everything: food, safety, and strong wooden walls guarded day and night. If anyone spotted an infected, they'd shoot from half a mile away. The town was one of the safest places Joel and Ellie had seen. As soon as they got some food, the two of them ate like they hadn't in days. Tommy truly respected Joel and knew what he needed without asking. He was genuinely happy to see his brother, but one question kept troubling him. Who was the girl with him? Joel shared the whole story. He told him about Ellie, about Tess, and added, "If you had stayed in touch, maybe Tess would still be alive today." Hearing this, Tommy felt guilty. Tommy had his reasons. After leaving the Fireflies, he met Maria. Her community had strict rules. Using radios was forbidden. To stay with her, Tommy followed those rules and cut off contact. Joel argued that he should have at least let him know he was alive. Now, Joel wanted to fulfill Tess's final wish, to get Ellie to the Fireflies' base. But lately, Joel's health had started failing. He could feel his heart slowing, maybe because of the cold. Joel didn't want to risk Ellie's life, so he asked Tommy to take her instead. The Firefly base was 5 days west of their town, but the route was filled with danger from both infected and looters. After much convincing, Joel finally got Tommy to agree. But Ellie didn't trust anyone except Joel. She felt safest only with him. In the end, Joel had to take her himself. Before they left, Tommy told them, "The gates of this town will always be open for both of you." Spending time with Joel had sharpened Ellie's shooting skills, something that would help her a lot in the future. The 5-day journey flew by with laughter and conversation. When they reached the Firefly base, they found it completely abandoned. No one was left. After checking the map carefully, they assumed the group had relocated to Salt Lake City. While they were figuring out their next move, Joel and Ellie noticed some people down below. As they quietly tried to reach their horses, one of them attacked Joel. Joel killed him but got seriously wounded in the fight. They climbed onto a horse and fled the scene, barely escaping. But Joel's condition worsened, and eventually, he fell off the horse, unconscious. Ellie panicked. She had no idea where to go or what to do. In a world full of lies and danger, she was now all alone. Determined to save Joel, Ellie searched nearby houses for medicine. She found a needle and thread and stitched up Joel's wound herself. Joel believed his end was near and asked Ellie to return to Tommy, but Ellie refused to leave him no matter what. For the next couple of days, Joel's condition remained critical, and their food ran out. Ellie decided to go hunting. She shot a large deer, but it escaped even after being hit. She followed the trail and found two men, David and Martin, had already discovered the animal. Ellie crept up on them and pointed a gun at them. These men belonged to a large group of survivors who were starving. They offered Ellie medicine in exchange for half the deer. Ellie agreed but insisted that they bring the medicine to her right there. A while later, they returned with the medicine, and Ellie quickly took it and ran. Martin asked David why he let her go. David replied that the man who killed their friend Alec was traveling with her. He promised revenge. That night, David's group feasted on the deer meat. Ellie regularly gave Joel his injections and hoped he would recover soon. Joel was not her real father, but he had become even more important to her. The next morning, when Ellie stepped outside, she saw David approaching with his group. She overheard them say they had to capture the girl alive. Ellie rushed back inside and woke Joel, warning him that people were coming to kill him. She promised to distract them and told him to kill anyone who got close. She then rode away, firing at them to draw them off. They chased her down, and one of them shot her horse. Ellie was captured. There were about 5 or 6 of them. 2 dragged the dead horse away, while David picked up Ellie and took her with him. The rest went looking for Joel, but Joel had already regained some strength. He killed one attacker, used him to lure the others, and forced one of them to reveal where they were holding Ellie. Meanwhile, Ellie was trying to escape. Inside the room, she noticed a severed ear, which horrified her. David and a few others were hiding a dark secret. When starving, they resorted to cannibalism. Most of the group didn't even know. David had similar intentions for Ellie, but before he could do anything, Ellie broke his finger and snatched his keys. David wounded her badly before she could escape. Just as he was about to take her away, Ellie bit him and screamed, "I'm infected, and now you are too." Seeing the bite mark, David froze in fear, and Ellie took the chance to escape. Meanwhile, Joel had reached their hideout and was close to finding Ellie, but David caught Ellie again. Despite being injured, Ellie fought back and killed him. She had survived yet another nightmare. The story now flashes back 14 years. We see a pregnant woman bitten by an infected. Before the infection could spread, she gave birth to a baby girl, Ellie. Unable to breastfeed due to her wound, she left Ellie in the care of her best friend Marlene. Ellie's mother lied to Marlene, saying the baby was born before the infection. Marlene took Ellie to Boston, where she was raised in a FEDRA school. Back in the present, Joel and Ellie had finally reached Salt Lake City, but Ellie was quiet and distant, knowing their journey together was about to end. Suddenly, they were ambushed and captured by a group, Fireflies. Marlene was there. She informed Joel that Ellie had been taken for surgery. Joel was confused. Why surgery? Marlene explained that Ellie's brain held something unique, something the doctors needed. They were confident they could use it to make a cure, which they would distribute freely. But when Joel learned the surgery would require removing Ellie's brain, he refused. He demanded they find someone else who was immune. Marlene didn't listen and had Joel escorted out at gunpoint. As the guards let him out, Joel turned on them and killed both. He stormed through the facility, killing anyone who tried to stop him, and reached the operating room just in time. Ellie was already sedated. The doctor tried to stop him with a knife, but Joel shot him. Then he killed Marlene too, saying, "If I let you live, you'll come after her." Hours later, Ellie woke up confused. She remembered being with the doctors. She asked Joel what happened. Joel lied. He said there were already many immune kids, but the doctors had failed to make a cure. Then raiders attacked, and they barely escaped. 3 days later, a military squad visited Salt Lake City to honor the fallen Fireflies. The squad's leader, Abby, had lost someone close during the raid, and she burned with a desire for revenge. Meanwhile, Ellie was burning with rage. She told her friends, "We will kill Joel, and not just kill him. We'll make him suffer so deeply that even his future bloodline will tremble in fear." But tracking Joel down was harder than finding a ghost. 5 long years passed. Still no trace. Because Joel had already returned quietly to live with his brother, Tommy. During those 5 years, everything changed. The town grew fast and wild. Refugees poured in and construction boomed. Joel was in charge of it all. He organized daily patrols to scan for threats beyond the walls. Ellie and her best friend Dina loved those patrols. They flirted with danger, laughing in the face of it. But one day, they encountered a different kind of infected, one that could think. It shocked Ellie. Before she could react, it bit her. Somehow she killed it and hid the wound before Dina saw. But now it was clear, the infected were evolving, and that was terrifying. 4 hours later, the year 2029 would begin. That night, Ellie and Dina met up to celebrate. Laughter turned to intimacy. Dina leaned in close, but a stranger nearby didn't like what he saw. He hurled insults, and Joel, always watching, stepped in and shut the man down. But Ellie didn't appreciate it. She snapped at Joel. "I don't need your help, I can protect myself." She was 19 now, and Joel's overprotective nature It grated on her. On the other side of the country, after 5 years of obsession, Abby had finally located Joel. She thought he'd be hiding in some dusty tent, but what she found instead shocked her. Joel was inside a massive walled city, guarded, fortified, and almost impenetrable. Abby came up with a plan: capture one of their patrol squads and force them to reveal Joel's location. But her friends refused. Their deal was simple: no killing innocents. Abby promised, "We'll just scare them." Then she set off to scout. That same morning, Ellie overslept. So Joel took Dina out for patrol. Ellie was now under the care of Jesse. A fierce storm was rolling in. Temperatures dropped sharply. Meanwhile, Abby spotted 2 riders on patrol and decided to follow. But while tailing them, she slipped down a snowy cliff and landed in a place filled with rotting corpses. Worse, under the ice, thousands of dormant infected stirred. The moment they sensed movement, they swarmed. Abby ran, desperate, and ducked into a cabin. But they found her again. Just as they were about to rip her apart, Joel appeared. Gun blazing, he saved her life. He and Dina had taken shelter there due to the storm. Then, Dina called out from downstairs, and Abby realized the man who had saved her was Joel. She couldn't act, not yet. Her pistol had fallen during the chase. They escaped on horseback. Back in the city, a construction worker spotted living fungus moving across a wall. Panic erupted. One wrong step on the infected ground, and it could awaken an entire underground hive. But the worker had already disturbed the roots. The infection was coming. The city went into emergency lockdown. Children and elders were rushed into underground bunkers. Tommy tried contacting Joel via radio, but the storm blocked all signals. So he called Jesse, and that's when Ellie learned Joel was missing. She and Jesse set out in different directions to find him, planning to regroup at a halfway point. Meanwhile, Joel was in more trouble than ever. A swarm of infected had locked onto him, and worse, Abby was leading him straight into a trap. The infected stormed the city in massive waves. Tommy and his soldiers climbed to the rooftops and began throwing barrels of petrol down onto the streets. As soon as they landed, they opened fire, lighting them up in a wall of flames. Many infected were incinerated, but their numbers didn't shrink. In fact, more kept coming, and they were closing in. Meanwhile, Joel was still far from the city, but Abby's hideout was much closer. If they didn't find shelter soon, the freezing cold could kill them before the infected did. Abby made an offer. "We've got warm blankets and weapons at our place," she said. So they decided to go with her to her safe house. But just then, in the chaos of the horde, something monstrous appeared: a bloater. This series had shown 5 different types of infected. The bloater was the largest and most terrifying of them all. Thick-skinned, nearly immune to bullets, and brutally strong. Within seconds, it smashed through a concrete wall and unleashed chaos, letting the infected flood into the city. But the town had prepared for this. The elderly and children were already hidden away in underground bunkers. Only trained fighters were left above ground. Every home had armed guards. From every rooftop, soldiers fired endlessly to hold the line. Tommy himself came face to face with the bloater. After a long and vicious fight, he managed to set it on fire and finally take it down. Meanwhile, Maria unleashed her vicious dogs on the infected, and they tore through them like warriors. Back in the wilderness, Abby had tricked Joel and Dina into following her. Joel, seeing the city burning in the distance, grew desperate. "Grab whatever blankets and ammo you've got," he ordered. "We're leaving in 3 minutes." That's when Abby introduced them to her group, and then she said it. "This old man's name is Joel." One of her friends instantly pulled a gun on Dina, knocking her out cold. They weren't here for her. They only wanted revenge on Joel. Abby seized Joel's weapons and shot him in the leg, shattering his knee with a shotgun blast. Joel screamed in agony. He believed they were fireflies, but Abby leaned down and said coldly, "The fireflies died the day you killed 18 of our people, including the doctor." That doctor was Abby's father. Then she picked up a golf club and began to beat Joel, again and again until the club broke in half. When that wasn't enough, she punched him with her bare fists, again and again. Even her friends flinched at the brutality. Meanwhile, Ellie had followed their trail. She spotted Joel and Dina's horse outside the lodge and slipped inside. From the upper floor, she heard the screams. Silently, she climbed the stairs, and what she saw broke her heart. Joel lay bloodied and helpless on the floor. Ellie pulled out her pistol and fired at Abby, but one of Abby's friends pushed her aside just in time. They captured Ellie too. Ellie sobbed, crawling to Joel. "Get up, please, get up," she begged. Joel stirred, broken, but alive. He tried to rise, but then Abby drove the broken golf club straight into his throat and killed him. Ellie's scream pierced the air. Her face soaked in tears, she shouted, "I'll kill all of you, every last one of you. None of you will make it out alive." Sometime later, Jesse arrived and found them. They carried Joel's lifeless body back to town. And this is where the first 2 episodes of Season 2 end. The next 5 episodes of this emotional, violent, and beautifully dark zombie saga are yet to release. Let me know in the comments, Do you want all 5 at once, or one by one?